Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on my January layout in my bullet journal. I know this video is coming out a little bit late, but I also got a late start on it. I'm actually not including the first week of January in here because I didn't have my bullet journal then, so I didn't really get to use it. But the film that I picked for this month that I will be doing my theme on is Inside Out, which I know is a Pixar movie, but I mean, Disney and Pixar are not the same, but two halves of a whole now, so I think it's okay. I thought Inside Out really kind of fit the theme of a new year because I feel like going into the new year, there's a lot of mixed emotions, especially in the wake of what 2020 was. We all have a lot going on, so I thought it would be kind of cool to kind of look at all of those different emotions as we brave this new year. So I found these kind of cool little caricature versions of the emotions where they've kind of been almost broken down just to the geometric shapes. And yes, I know there was a weird cut there. I've been having a heck of a time with my camera, but it's okay. We're getting there. So I did these kind of little simpler renditions of all of the emotions, and I'm just kind of coloring them in with my Crayola markers here. Getting the font for this was a little bit trickier since you can't really find like a specific Inside Out font. So I was kind of going off the movie poster and then using specifically the letters like the N and that were on there, but then trying to find a way to write the other letters in the alphabet so that they fit the kind of appeal or the look of the font from the movie. And I think I did a fairly good job with it. So I am definitely happy with the way that this page turned out. I'm just going to apologize right now because there's probably going to be a bunch of cuts throughout this. I now know how to get my phone to work properly so that it doesn't happen anymore. But yes, there's a big thing that I missed, but I'll talk a little bit more about that once we get to that point in the end. So for me, when I kind of work on monthly layouts, things that I'm looking at are having a title page like this. And then I like to do a monthly to-do list and then set up all of my weeks for the entire month. Like I mentioned in my previous video, in the past, I have done multiple months at a time, and that's not really feasible, so this year I'm definitely working on 1 month at a time, and so far I really like it because I feel like I got to put a lot more time and effort into this January spread to really make it the best that I could. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just adding these little kind of bubble accents, I guess, to fill in some of the white space on the page. So if you look at the poster, they kind of have these transparent bubbles that kind of, when they lay over each other, you can see the colors underneath, and I think they're supposed to represent kind of those memories that exist within the movie. So I knew that when I was layering them on top of each other that I wanted the color to be peeking through underneath. So I thought working with watercolor would be probably the best way to do that. Plus it would also give it a little bit of that sheen that would make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So I just flipped the page over here to where I'm working on my weeklies. So I use what's called a rolling weekly, which I think I'll explain a little bit more of later. But essentially I just need half of the page to kind of do events that happen on certain days, and then the bottom half of the page is just going to be those rolling tasks that need to get done at some point in the week. Because the pages in this notebook are so big, I'm going to be doing a week per page, so the left side is going to be 1 week of the month, and then the right side is going to be another week. So those big bubbles are going to be each day of the week. I actually realized at some point, I don't know if it's on the video, but apparently I can't count, and one of the weeks only had 6 bubbles on it, and I had to go back and add another one. But one of the things that I really want to say that I love about this notebook is getting to work with watercolors and paints and things like that. The notebook that I had before this, there was no way that I would have been able to do that. I was having problems just working with my Crayolas and getting bleed through. There's a little bit of spots that show up. I think you can see a little bit of the red from the page before, but that's partially my fault for getting too much pigment on my brush before I was putting it down on the page. But it's really exciting to have the opportunity to get to work with these different mediums and kind of put it into it a different way. So yeah, there's another jump there because the camera ran out of storage on me. But now I'm just going back and adding in some of those detailing. So this means outlining all of the characters on the pages and then going in and adding the title of each week as well as the days of the week, and then adding in my titles for the tasks as well as my Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday little layout for my weekly rolling planner. I don't know which emotion is my favorite. I was like looking at them. I think I really relate to sadness in the film. I was wondering when I was doing this if I should maybe do like a monthly rewatch of every movie that I'm doing, if that's something that people would be interested in seeing and watching me work on. Let me know. I can definitely film a reaction as I work through each of these months. So yeah, this is just me going back in. I think I'm using a 0.1 or 0.3 millimeter just to add in those little titles for everything. That's where I realized I couldn't count because that page only had 6 and there are 7 days in a week. But that's the thing with bullet journaling. You're going to make mistakes. You just got to be willing to roll with the punches and be able to adapt as you work through it all. So if you've noticed in the video, there is a very random jump cut. That is the process. Well, actually, there's a lot of jump cuts, but that's the process of me learning that my phone does not beep at me when it runs out of storage like my camera does, which I'm used to using. I was really upset about this because I was really looking forward to watching back the kind of time lapse of me working on this spread, because what this spread is that it got cut off at is my monthly to-dos on the left-hand side, and then each month I'm going to do a quote page. So the monthly to-dos are just things that are like overarching things that need to get done every month, and then everything here is just going to be a quote from the movie that means a lot to me. So I kept up with the idea of these watercolor little bubbles, kind of to go with the memories and overlapping them. And the quote that I picked was, "I just want Riley to be happy." It was really hard for me to pick a quote, actually. I was thinking about picking something that was like a little bit more emotional, like when Bing Bong's like, "Oh, take her to the moon for me," but like I was like, that's really heart-wrenching, and I didn't know if I wanted to go with that vibe. But eventually I decided I really liked the message of this quote, because this is when Joy kind of realizes that maybe happiness isn't what's right for Riley in this moment, and maybe in order for Riley to be happy, she needs to feel all these other emotions. And I just thought that was a really good sentiment to go into the new year with, is remembering like, hey, it's not going to be all positives this year, but remembering to feel everything, and that's kind of how we get back to happiness, is by letting ourselves go through those other emotions. So now that I've shown you that, even though I'm really sad that the video cut off and I didn't get to see myself working on it, I'll just give you a little flip through of what my January layout looks like. So this is the title page that I have here, and then the to-dos and the quote. And then these are my spreads. So I use a rolling weekly, which basically means that you include the tasks here, and then the days of the week, and then you kind of dot and mark the day that you worked on that task, or you have multiple dots if you're working on them over certain days. These little bubbles serve as my things that need to be done on specific days, and then I just have the titles for the week here. We had a little bit of bleeding, but honestly, based on other notebooks I've used in the past, this notebook stands up pretty well. And then there's just the very last one for January, and then we're all set up and ready to go for February. So that's everything that I have for you guys today. Hopefully, now that I know how my camera works, I won't have so many issues for the February spread. If you guys have ideas of what Disney movie you think I should do next, leave me a note down in the description below. And I will see you next month.